What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise post-game show here on a Thursday night. The Blazers get another win as they dominate. Well, maybe not dominate. They won by 9. They beat the Toronto Raptors. They controlled the second half. Sharp and Avdia star once again for your Blazers after leading them to their last win. They might have been even better as a duo today because Shaedon Sharp absolutely went off. 36 points, 6 boards, 5 assists, and Avdia filled up the stat sheet. 26 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists. It's funny because this game for Avdia is typical Avdia game lately, just 26, 15, and 6, but it's not even impressive compared to his last game when he had that 32-point triple-double. So we're going to have a good conversation about these two guys and them maybe being the top 1 and 2 options offensively next year. I want to look ahead to that. And we're also going to take a look at where the Blazers shape up in both the play-in race, because I guess it's not mathematically impossible yet, as well as the lottery picture, because it seems like the Blazers might be locking themselves into 9th best odds, but maybe they fall to 10th, maybe they fall to 11th. We're going to take a look at that picture, as we normally do. And, of course, we'll answer your questions tonight. Eric, how's it going, man?
Oh, pretty good. Yeah, you're doing the ticker right now, right?
Yeah, I'm building the graphics as we go.
Yeah. This game was I don't know. It had some exciting moments. It had some very boring stretches where neither team could do much, especially in that second quarter. A lot of turnovers by the Blazers, but they still are too good to. Somehow, Tori, they lost their tanking magic. They can't tank anymore.
They're not trying, man. They're not even trying.
Yeah, and that was going to be my point. Is they obviously don't care about tanking because they proved for 3 years that when they want to tank, they absolutely can do it just as good as about anyone in the NBA. And yeah, so the fact that they're winning these games right now when it seemed like they should have pulled the plug, maybe it obviously shows that they're either still going for it or simply just don't think there's a big enough difference to completely tank these last few games to warrant getting maybe a pick or two higher odds in the lottery.
Yeah, we're going to have that conversation in a bit, man. I mean, the Blazers are clearly not tanking. The Raptors clearly are. That's kind of what this month and end to the season shapes up for the Blazers, is you're playing a lot of teams that aren't really trying to win games. The Raptors are one of those. Ultimately, we've always talked about the month of April as an opportunity to see what some unheralded guys could do. See what guys like Ryan Rupert could do. Guys that hadn't played much or even 10-day pickups. Right, different guys in the lineup, seeing what they could do. And it was always interesting to talk about how, okay, this player, let's just use an example. Skylar Mays going off at the end of the year. How much can we read into it considering he's playing for a tanking team? The conversation this year is kind of the opposite. It's you're playing the Raptors, they're tanking, they're not really trying. Scotty Barnes seems disinterested. He was horrible tonight. How meaningful was this game to the Toronto Raptors? Not much, right? They have had games just like the game in Portland where they barely played Jakob Poeltl, they barely played Scotty Barnes. So I think the question is, you've had Sharp's best 2-game stretch of the season, really, really good 2-game stretch. But how much can you read into A, just a 2-game sample, and B, against teams trying to lose, right? It's not to downplay what Sharp has done these past couple of games. You want him to play well, right? I mean, if he was struggling, it'd be worse, of course, right? It's just an interesting conversation that we're not used to as Blazer fans, where we're on the other side of the coin. We're playing teams that are seriously not trying to win basketball games. The Blazers don't have their best lineup out there either. And it was clear tonight that Sharp and Avdia were just a level above everybody, which it absolutely is a good thing. I just don't know how much to take away from it, And good, really good games from both of them. But that's a question for chat. How much can you take away from these two games? How much can you take away from these two performances for Sharp especially? Because Avdia has been doing this all throughout March. So I think this more so applies to Shaedon Sharp. He's been inconsistent, but 2 really good games. When he's the lead guard, should Shaedon Sharp be the lead guard? Were these games proof that Shaedon Sharp should be the lead guard? Because you had no Scoot, you had no Anthony Simons. He started next to Delano Banton. And as much as Delano Banton wants to play like he's the lead guard, it's Shaedon Sharp's backcourt when he's not sharing it with Ant, when he's not sharing it with Scoot. So, is this proof, if you want to really read into tonight's game, in the prior game, is this proof that Shaedon Sharp should be the lead guard in the backcourt? Do you need somebody that can play off him? Should it be his backcourt going into next year? Could it be his backcourt with Scoot Henderson? I don't think he can be his backcourt with Anthony Simons. So those are just some of the questions. Those are some of the questions that come up after this game for me that I'm really curious to hear from chat and hear what chat thinks.
Yeah, I mean, he's got now a few 30-point games under his belt. He scored 20 a lot this season. So, like, I know his average isn't above 20 yet, but, like, it feels like he's going to settle in maybe as early as next year as at least a 20-point scorer with not a whole lot of, like, crazy effort or anything like that. It seems like it's going to come pretty natural for him. And so just in terms of scoring, I think he could be the lead guard. He has shown the ability to play make a little bit when he's been given that chance to do so. But it also becomes a case of how much can we have him be the lead guard and run the show if we also have Denny, who's excelling in that role as well, and then you add, Scoot or Anthony or whoever the point guard is next year. Kind of seems like a case where there's not enough opportunities for all of them to be the lead guard. So do you pick Sharp over one of those other guys, or what do you do?
I mean, I think that might be putting it a little bit too, like, black and white, because ultimately you're going to have multiple guys on a team, maybe 3 guys on a team that can score 20 points in a game, right? It's just how do you set up your system and who do you prioritize in the half court, especially because if you get out and run, it's not a structured thing when you get out in transition. And Sharp's going to get his buckets in transition. Denny's going to get his buckets in transition. Those 2 guys should be the top 2 transition guys, maybe throwing Scoot in there, right? And they're going to get theirs, right? But who do you run things through in the half court, I think, is the biggest question there. And obviously, when you play in the flow, you're going to have guys that play off of each other, and it's not just going to be, this guy gets X amount of touches and this guy gets X amount of touches. It's just more so like who gets prioritized in the offense, right? If things are bogging down, who is responsible for making something out of nothing late in shot clocks? Who's going to have the most design sets with them as the primary option, right? And if they're a good enough primary option, who does that open up on the backside once that primary option is taken away? Because if you overcommit to one option, it can open up other options, right? That's kind of the question, I think, for a new coach, right? Because those questions, Chauncey just, with his system, he decides not to answer them through not doing much offensively, right? So that's, I think, a very interesting dynamic going into next year for the Blazers to figure out. But yeah, it's an interesting question, and you have so many roster questions and role questions for this organization to answer going into next season. I don't know if they can answer them all. I think there's going to be some situations that fans are going to be unhappy with or really don't make sense in terms of how many touches somebody is getting, because you do have some talent on this team, right? So this is just maybe the most fascinating offseason ever. I keep saying it. It's so fascinating to see how they're going to try and build their team from here and who they're going to prioritize. But you got to start Sharp next year. You cannot go into next year not starting this guy. He's playing well right now. And when he has started and gotten enough opportunity, he's done pretty well with it. His opportunity only got rolled back because of his defense. The question is, can Shane Sharp be good enough offensively where you don't even worry about his defense? He's still getting 35 minutes a game. He's still one of the best players on the team, right? I don't know. Just some of the questions that come to my mind. Let me know if there's anything that sticks out in chat, Eric, as we discuss this, because I think this is a really interesting conversation for chat to chime in on.
Well, Tori, just 2 days ago you were saying to trade Sharp, and now you're saying.
What are you talking about?
I'm just giving you crap. Just messing with you. You were talking about trading Sharp the other day, though, and now he's a must start.
Don't make it sound like I was saying they should trade him. Come on, man, because people will run with that. All right, you know how chat is. So for anybody that wasn't here, I said I think there's a greater than 0% chance that they trade Sharp this offseason for an upgrade if they keep Ant, right? Because at some point, you got to choose 2 of your 3 guards, and everybody's like, oh, just trade Ant. But if they can't get anything for Ant and they want to get better and they want to take a swing, you have Sharp going into his final year. He's going to have to get extended first, right? And we know how this organization is weird with the way they pay players and stuff. I still said I'd be shocked if Sharp gets traded, but I think there's a greater than 0% chance, right? Just because of all the questions that face the team, you're going to have to make a tough decision. I think the best decision is just to trade Anthony and get back less than they're hoping for. But what is this organization willing to trade a player and get back less than they are looking for? The answer to this point has been no. That's why you still have Robert Williams III and Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons on the roster, even though it makes no sense. That's why this team has not traded out a single meaningful player. God, since when? When was the last time they traded away a single meaningful player? The Banton year, they didn't do anything. Last offseason, they traded Brogdon, I guess, but you knew they were going to trade him, right? That's the only time in the last 2 years that you can say, since the Dame trade, that they traded away a meaningful player, right? So that's why it's a fascinating offseason. Who knows what this organization is going to do? But go on.
Yeah. I mean, if you trade someone, though, because you feel like you have to trade him even if it's lesser value, isn't that more like Brogdon than trading a meaningful player?
Do you have an example?
I'm just saying, like, if we end up trading like Grant or Ayton or Anthony, and we get back a lot less than what people think, isn't that more like just basically you're saying it's addition by subtraction, not getting rid of a meaningful player, right? Doesn't that become the case?
Grant is meaningful because of his freaking salary. It's different than Brogdon because of his freaking salary, right? Like, that's going to be hard to move. Anthony Simons is absolutely a more meaningful player than Malcolm Brogdon. But Malcolm Brogdon was used as, like, matching salary when you knew he was going out. I don't know if Robert Williams is going out. Like, Robert Williams, I guess, would be the closest thing to a Malcolm Brogdon, right? If you want to say Malcolm Brogdon was the only meaningful player. But that's the only guy in 2 years since Dame. That's the only meaningful player that they've traded out in this entire rebuild, right? So at some point, they're going to have to trade out some players. And if they don't want to take back less than they were looking for, if Ant doesn't have much value, if Grant has negative value, what do you think? Like, would the Blazers attach an asset to get rid of Grant and have that look terrible for optics? Or would they rather, I don't know, trade Sharp for Zion if that's on the table? You know what I mean? Like, that's... Which one would they rather do? Is an interesting question.
I mean, you could make the case with how Chauncey's treated Sharp this year. That maybe they would do that, but
I absolutely would not trade Sharp for Zion. I think that would be a terrible move. Here's the problem, though. This team's in a tough spot going into the offseason. They're probably going to have to make a really, really tough move in order to make anything make sense.
Yeah.
We talked about it a lot last stream. We're going to talk more about the game today, but yeah, just since you bring up the Sharp trade thing.
Yeah, but so Sharp, I feel like within the organization, he was a Cronin pick, his first actual draft. Um, he is absolutely crazy, over the top, beloved by most fans. Like almost everyone in chat, like if you say we're going to trade him, would be pissed off, right? Or
Yeah,
like mad.
rightfully so.
So if we're talking about optics, I think even if they got a star player back, I think most fans kind of view Sharp as on his way to that anyway. So I think if we're just talking about optics, I don't think there's any way they trade Sharp from that perspective. So
Yeah.
I think it's more likely they do what you said at the beginning of the show, and that's make him the focal point of this whole rebuild.
It's just like if you have a lame duck head coach, why didn't you fire him when he stopped making him a focal point? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Right? So,
Exactly.
but no, we want him to be better defensively. Okay, sure, but like, it's weird. It's weird.
He's only better defensively now because he had that tough love, Tori.
Yeah, something like that. But at the end of the day, this organization is going to have to do something this offseason that probably is bad optically, because it's also bad optics to still not do anything. And that's why it's really interesting, because this organization, it seems like, shies away from doing things that don't look good. And if they have to, they're going to try and spin the narrative, like the Dame saga. So I think it's very interesting. It's very interesting to see how they're going to handle this offseason, man. That's why I can't wait for it to be here. I can't wait to see these storylines play out. Even if they do nothing, I mean, it'll just give us another opportunity to roast them for doing nothing. But at the end of the day, Sharp, he has the most upside on this team as a scorer. He's still very young. You're going to start hearing contract talk next year. But games like this show his upside. And you need star level upside. You need star level upside. I've said it. I said it a lot on the past stream. We really went into depth on this the last post-game show. How selling out assets for somebody that's not good enough to be the number one on a championship team makes no sense. Okay, the Blazers have a lot of good role players. They need either upside or somebody who's already a legit star. Somebody that could be a legit star and maybe a number one player on a contending team, or somebody who already is. That's where their mind should be geared towards. Right? Shaedon Sharp is the one guy on the roster, I think, who has the most upside and legitimate upside, where he could potentially one day be the number one player on a contending team. Now, I think it's still going to be really tough for him to get there, and scoring 36 points against a tanking Raptors team doesn't prove that he's going to be that guy. Let's just be honest. But he's had some really good moments this year, and I think next year, under a new coach, is when he could really pop and reach at least fringe star status, if he's not already there in your mind, right? And then that hopefully is not his final step. Hopefully that's just a step towards legitimate stardom where he can be the number one player on a contending team, right? So that's why trading him for anything would probably make no sense unless you're getting back somebody who's already a legitimate number one star on a good team, like somebody that's good enough to lead a contending team, right? Sabonis, hell no, right? That would be the worst possible trade for the Blazers, to trade a guy like Sharp for a guy like Sabonis. Yes, he's already a fringe star, but you're not accomplishing anything. You're actually getting further away from contending one day because you need the upside of somebody that has the upside of Shaedon Sharp. So you don't give that up for somebody with a lower ceiling. Sharp's upside is far greater than the ceiling of a guy like Sabonis. And I think Zion, with all his baggage, that would also be a bad trade, because, yeah, Zion, when he plays, is really, really good, but the downside, the risk, is so much greater. So much greater. So Sharp needs to be a focal point going into next year for this team. Avdija needs to be a focal point going into next year for this team. Both those guys have, I think, the most offensive talent. It's different offensive talent. Avdija is super strong, super fast, super crafty, 6'9". Sharp's just an amazing athlete. His handle's getting better. He's getting to his spots better. He was 4 for 10 from 3 today. right? Those two guys need to be the focal point going into next year, and you see if one of those two can take a step to being a legitimate all-star next season. That should be the way the Blazers are geared going into next year.
Or Denny and Sharp are both all-stars this year.
I mean, listen, I'm trying not to get greedy, but I would love that, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, so in this type of situation, whether it's a rebuild or a retool or you're trying to make the playoffs, any scenario you want to do from here on out, if you're the front office, it's got to involve players like Sharp. That you want players that have that ability to pop and still take another gear. So like trading them would be foolish. And of course, as Blazer fans, we're still, I mean, some of you younger fans probably aren't, but us older Blazer fans are still burnt by the Jermaine O'Neal trade. And it will always be a reason why you don't trade a younger player that still has a chance of blossoming for a veteran player or whatever. So, but yeah, I mean, I can't even think of a player. Like obviously, if like the Dallas Mavericks would have called us and said, "We want Sharp, we don't want Luka anymore," like you probably need to do it, you know. But like, I don't know many players around the league, and I'm not saying like I wouldn't rather have someone over Sharp, but like I just he's ours, you know. Like I think he needs to be part of this rebuild, and it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. Now, here's the main thing going forward for him, right? You talked about next year, you know, if he gets enough minutes, enough opportunity, he can easily be a 20-point per game scorer. I also agree with the way he plays. He can easily be a 20-point per game scorer next year. The biggest question is, can he be an efficient 20-point per game scorer? That's the biggest question. Because he gets up enough shots, he has enough opportunities when he plays even right now, where if he's playing more minutes, right, this season he averaged 31 minutes a game. You get that up to like 35 minutes a game, he's averaging 20. Right now he's averaging 18 points on 31 minutes a game. Okay, per 36 he's averaging 20.8. So he's a 20-point per game scorer if you give him legitimate starter minutes, 34, 35, 36 minutes a game. But can he do it efficiently? His true shooting percentage this year, 55%. He's not that far off, but the problem is the three-point shooting. He's been a fantastic finisher. A fantastic finisher at the rim so far this season, especially the second half of the year. Okay? He's getting downhill a lot. I think there's two questions for his efficiency. Can he get to the line more? He's only averaging 3.2 free throw attempts per game. It seems like it should be a little bit higher than that. And can he finally start making threes? He made threes today. He was 4 for 10. That's 40%. That's great. Okay, but we've seen his three-point percentage from his rookie year at 36 to last year at 33.3 to this year going into this game, 30.8%. He's under 31%. That's what needs to improve. If he can make more threes, especially movement threes, then he's going to be a little bit more efficient. Okay, he's going to be efficient enough. And that makes him probably a 22, 23 point per game guy next year if he's playing 34, 35 minutes a game, because he's going to be making a couple more threes. Hopefully gets to the line a little bit more. That should be the goal, for him to be an efficient 22, 23 point per game scorer next year at 22 years of age. That's the next step. And it feels like it's very achievable for him. And if he has that type of season next year, then it's very easy to feel confident about his long-term upside. If you got a dude, athletic freak, that's averaging 22, 23 point per game on solid efficiency at 22 years of age, right? So that's what we need to see next year out of him. Here's the thing, Eric. In order to make Avdija and Sharp the top two guys next year, let me know if you agree or disagree with this, the Blazers are going to have to trade Anthony Simons.
I think if they traded Anthony, Sharp's easily that. I still think he can do it with Anthony here. I mean, he's at 18 with these guys here, but yeah, I mean, if you clear Anthony, if you clear Anthony out of the equation, I think it's pretty clearly right now. I mean, another player like Scoot could join this conversation eventually, but right now it's the duo of Denny and Sharp, and then you have an elite role player potentially in Tamani, and then whatever.
Elite role player in Klingon, I think.
Yeah,
Pretty safe to say going forward.
Yeah, I might not say elite yet, but
he will be like
decent role player.
He will be. Yeah, he's a rookie, big and he's already good enough for me to confidently say he'll be an elite role player too.
Yeah, but like I'm just talking about like next year, decent role player in Klingon, and then whatever you get from Scoot will be the wild card. But I think clearly if you traded Anthony, got rid of Grant or brought him off the bench and just made this the Denny Sharp show next year, I think that's probably the best way to go about it right as of right now, at least. I think the new information could come available or whatever, but
here's the thing though. If you bring back Ant, even going into next year, it's not going to feel like Sharp's the number one guy in the backcourt.
Well, yeah.
It's good, like this is Ant's team. And it's still going to feel like that going into next year if he's still starting next to Sharp in the backcourt. Ant's been the vet, and Ant has proven with his play, he's going to get his shots up. Even if it's not falling, he'll have a night where he'll go 7 for 20 with 2 assists. Right? It's good to have a shooter. I like his shooting. I think if he dialed it back a little bit sometimes with some of his tough shot selection and you ran a little bit more through Sharp and Denny, that'd be better. I think theoretically Ant's skill set could fit next to Sharp, but I think if you want to go into next year like Sharp, this is yours and Denny's team, you're the number one option in the backcourt, and Ant's there, it's a little weird. And I don't know if that mindset shift for Sharp can happen if he's starting in a backcourt next to Ant and Ant's going to go get his shots. And I don't even necessarily blame Ant. That's Ant's game. It's just not the most conducive thing for making it Sharp and Denny top 2 options going into next year. Sharp, this is your backcourt. You're the lead guard. If you want to bring the ball up, you can. Like that sort of mindset. So I think that's where you can have some addition by subtraction. Not as an insult to Anthony, but just because of what our situation actually is.
The only thing I'll caution on that, and now, I mean, who knows, because they played Atlanta and Toronto the last couple of games. But, there was a game, you remember when Sharp had that 10-game stretch that was really good, his rookie year or whatever. Mm-hmm. There was the one game where the New Orleans Pelicans just decided they were not going to let Sharp do anything that game. And Herbert Jones completely took him out of the game. That was their whole game plan, was to just take Sharp out of the game. And now, it's 2 years later, so, and next year it'll be 3 years. So, he could improve that, but we don't know how he will handle double teams and all this kind of stuff.
Here's the thing, though. Don't you think we need to, A, see how he handles it, B, he needs to be guarded like that to actually become that guy? I actually think that's another reason to get rid of Ant, because Sharp, if he's going to develop into being that guy, he's going to have to learn to deal with double teams and being the focal point of attention for a defense and dealing with the best defenders on him. Yeah, it might be harder for him to have good games, but if you are that guy, that's how defenses are going to treat you. And the sooner we put Sharp in a position to learn from that, there's going to be some growing pains, but the sooner we put him in position to learn from that, I think the better.
Yeah, I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, so then you're basically saying Sharp has to either become the number one on a championship team or that we're kind of screwed, right?
Why? Why would be getting rid of Ant make that?
I'm not saying necessarily Ant. I'm just saying, if Sharp is the focal point, that means he's going to be the best player on the team moving forward. So for me, it's always been, well, why can't he play better when he's not the focal point? We've seen him be inconsistent when he plays with certain players or whatever, and maybe that's improving now, or it could just be a product of certain players being injured and him having more of an opportunity between Grant, Anthony, Ayton, all their shots are not there in the lineup right now, so he basically has to be more aggressive. But I do I have been a fan of giving people more responsibility, like Aeromancer says in chat. So like that is a thing I want, but I would caution this by saying you do need, and I'm not saying Anthony, but I'm saying you do need certain players around him, the right players to make sure that either defenses pay for double teaming us or, that allow Sharp to still get some sort of opportunities without seeing too much like double teams and defensive attention.
I mean, that's why you have Denny. And then
Yeah.
Scoot hopefully takes another step. Like, you got other guys. You don't need Ant to avoid that. I think it's actually better because you have guys that can take the pressure off him, guys that can attack if he's being overplayed. And then if he's being face guarded, I mean, he should be one of the... If he's getting that level of defensive attention, he should become one of the best backdoor threats in the league, and you got guys that can pass. Klingon, I think, will show more next year that he can pass as a big. You got Denny who can pass. You got Scoot who throws a really good lob, right?
If they utilize him off ball, but we're talking about...
Yeah, but I mean, ultimately, hopefully we're talking about a new system, new coach. Like, that's how things should be. That is absolutely how things should be. But, yeah, like, Sharp has proven enough where you should consistently give him the role of being that guy in the backcourt and see how he does with it, because his role has... We can dock him for his inconsistency, and I have in the past, but his role hasn't exactly been consistent. And there's just some games where it's like he seems to kind of fade out because he's just watching other guys kind of take their turns jacking up shots in a stagnant offense, right? And it's like for a half, he'll kind of do nothing. But, like, if he's the guy offensively and he's, like, it's his job, like, late in the shot clock, you go get the ball, you make something happen, right? They're sending double teams your way. You got to learn from this. I think that's the best scenario for him next year for his long-term development, because his long-term development, the sole focus should be how do we give him the best chance to become a true star, right? So I think, yeah, there's going to be some problems. Yeah, there's going to be some growing pains, and maybe there's some situations where guys are struggling to make defenses pay for loading up on him, and he's getting taken out of a game. But we saw the same situation with Damian Lillard at times, where Damian Lillard, especially that Pelicans series, right, getting loaded up on, guys aren't making the Pelicans pay, they're taking Dame out of the game. Dame used that to turn himself into a better player, right? Like, Dame only grew from that. So it's almost like you give Sharp that challenge, give him that consistent role, give him that mindset where I am the guy in the backcourt. This is my backcourt, right? Late in the shot clock, it's not, find Anthony so he can shoot a tough step back that he can hit. Yeah, he can hit it. But it's more so like, all right, you got to be the guy to make something happen. You got to consistently assert yourself as the lead playmaker next to Denny, right? It's your guys' team. And it might not make for the best team next year. That's fine, right? Like, the team would probably be better with Ant than whatever you can get Ant for. But the goal shouldn't necessarily be to, maybe we can get a 7th seed next year instead of be a 9th seed. The goal should be, how do we best set ourselves up for the future? I think Denny, with the way he's played, and Sharp with the way they've played, they absolutely need to be the top 2 focal points offensively next year, and the system needs to be built around them. Needs to be built around them. With whatever coach they bring in.
Yeah. I just like to point out for the people arguing about this in chat, though, Sharp does shoot more field goal attempts, than Anthony Simons this year. Did you know that, Tori?
I'll look it up. Ant shoots 6. So what is that based on? Because Ant shoots 16 a game and Sharp shoots 15 a game.
Sharp shoots 17 a game.
Nope, not according to Basketball Reference.
Oh, you're right, 15. What was I looking at?
I don't know. I don't know. I was going to say, that didn't sound right.
Per 36, sorry.
Well, let's just do per 100 possessions. Per possession, all right, 23.5 for Sharp. Simons takes Let's see here. 23.9.
It's pretty close.
It's basically equal. But, like,
Yeah.
that's not really what my point is, necessarily. It's more so a changing of the guard, right? I think with Ant here, it's like he's been here. It's kind of his team. We felt that at times this year.
I agree that that's your point, but people were saying Anthony shoots all these shots and has all these poor shooting games or whatever. Like you just mentioned, they're basically about the same shot attempts per game. Anthony has they're basically the same true shooting percentage as well. So like I don't think you can say that about one of them and not say that about the other. Now, I get Sharp's a younger player and has much more upside to grow into what Simons is now, but like people just saying, "Oh, yeah, like Sharp's doing all this and he scores all this. He has so many better games and Anthony has all these horrible games that he just shoots." Sharp hasn't shot the ball great the entire season either. Like, you know.
Yeah, I just think they're pretty similar right now. Simons, I think the point is like Simons took a step back from last year and Sharp's taking a step forward. Simons last year was much better than Sharp. This year they're on par with each other, and it's the changing of a guard, right?
But
like it all
good,
kind of
right?
makes sense. Yeah, but that's why it's like, all right, now it's time to move in. Now it's time to move Ant. Now it's time to start Sharp. Now it's time to start Scoot. You bring Grant off the bench next year if you can't get rid of him. Like, here's the thing. The simplest way for this offseason to go for the Blazers to kind of answer the roster and depth questions, as well as put themselves in a decent position moving forward, the easiest way, in my opinion, to do that is you trade Anthony Simons. You draft a 2-3 that can shoot. You hopefully get Colin Knippel in the draft. Okay? You trade Anthony Simons to Orlando for whatever you can get. Maybe it's another pick. You end up bringing back Ayton. You end up bringing back Grant because they can't trade anything for him, but you bring Grant off the bench. Because here's the thing. If they can't trade Grant this offseason, when they really, really, really need to, at that point it's a sunk cost and you're just kind of stuck with him. So you don't need to sit here and be like, we have to start him ahead of Denny to hopefully get a team to really want to trade for him. You're already screwed if you can't trade him this offseason, in my opinion. I already think they're kind of screwed there, but let's just say this offseason is kind of like the last window to trade him, okay? So if you can't trade him, you go into next year, you got your starting lineup. Ayton, maybe you can trade him for other salary because the best thing would be to start Klingon, right? Like if you could trade Ayton and get back a couple second-round picks and just fill her salary, even if it's, you know, a Gabe Vincent and a Rui Hachimura from the Lakers because they need a big, and you flip Rui somewhere for a couple seconds, right? Like that would be great, but let's just say Scoot, Sharp, Denny, Kamara, Ayton, and then you got, you know, maybe a Knippel off the bench, you got Grant off the bench, you got Klingon off the bench, and maybe you just sign a vet point guard to play some spot minutes behind Scoot. That is the simplest way for this team to set up into next year where you can make Sharp and Denny the guy, not sell out for something you shouldn't sell out for right now, and then you see how good you can be with Sharp and Denny as the top two options. You give Scoot that starting spot to see if he can take a step forward as a starter, and that is how you can really see what you have, which will give you the clarity to know what type of moves you should make going forward in terms of trying to build out the roster going into the following offseason, right? That is the simplest, most logical path forward, in my opinion. What do you think, Eric? And you're muted, by the way, if you're talking.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, if you want to give this rebuild the best possible shot, I'm just worried the Blazers are going to try to just add a few pieces to this and hope they get into the playoffs. And
listen,
that's
I'm not
completely the wrong way, right?
So last postgame show, we talked about everything we're worried about with them. This, for me, is just like, let's lay out what would make sense. And if they don't do it,
yeah,
we laid it out. We laid out what would make sense in a simple enough way that is very achievable. That offseason, if they want that to be their offseason, they can easily do it. Maybe they don't get Knipple. Maybe they get a Liam McNeely, right? And maybe they don't trade Ant to Orlando. Maybe they trade him somewhere else where they don't get back much, but you just get back something and whatever. Like, that is such an easily achievable offseason for them, where at least they wouldn't be standing pat. They'd be giving their young guys opportunities. They'd be biting the bullet with Grant. That would not be a glamorous offseason at all, but that would be an offseason that shows that they're finally on a clean path forward, where they're not going to rush out of the rebuild. You got some talent on this team finally, and you're going to prioritize it. If they hire a new coach on top of that, which they should also do, if you hire the right coach, like, that is a really good low-key offseason. Okay? Not asking for much. Not asking for much. Okay? Like, they can legitimately still have Ayton and Grant on this roster, and I could call it a solid offseason. Okay? I'm just saying that right now, if that's their offseason.
That would be nice to get a second. You think is there someone in the draft in, like, because, like, Orlando has Denver's first round pick or whatever?
Yeah, and their own, which might be a little too much for Ant, but you can dream, right?
Let's just say it's Denver's. Where's that at right now?
I think that's 25th.
All right. Is there someone
That's 24th.
Is there someone we could draft at 24, even if it's a bit of a reach there, that would be, like, let's just say we traded Ant and needed a third guard or whatever, that kind of would fit next to Sharp, like you're talking about?
Let's just go and look at and see who's available on Tankathon. I think anybody that you draft here is going to be, like, maybe not ready to play next year.
Well, okay,
but
so one person a guard that came to mind right away was that might be ready to play, Walter Clayton. Is he like the wrong type of guard? Is he too small? Or, like, what is he too much like Anthony?
You would have to have hope. He's a lot like
Yeah.
He is but like, you wouldn't start him and it wouldn't be his backcourt. Yeah. You'd have to be confident with Scoot being able to guard bench twos, because if they're going to play together, like, Scoot's going to take the best guard. Clayton's like 6'2", 6'3", maybe. Mm-hmm. I think a better option would be LeBaron Fallon.
Yeah. Because
I think he's a good defensive player. I don't know. It depends on his size. I think he might be able to defend some twos. He's pretty scrappy. He plays hard, but the shooting's a problem. So that's not necessarily the best fit, right? Like, a big point guard that can shoot is probably the best scenario. Honestly, De La Reyes, I don't know what he's shooting, but that archetype maybe.
Mm-hmm. What about Isaiah Evans?
I mean, he can't play any point guard. So if we're talking a guard, he's a 2-3. He's like the.
How do you know? Type. Maybe he's like McCain.
He didn't even go watch some of his high school tape, man. He played the exact same way. He was, because that's the thing. You can go back and look at some McCain tape, and he played different. Like, yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing with Duke guys. You gotta go back and watch them before they got to Duke.
What about another Duke player, Tyrese Proctor, my guy?
It just feels like shooting low, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he can shoot, and he's 6'5", so archetype-wise,
he can handle the ball, too.
It's just, is he good enough to be a backup point guard? I could just see him not. I don't know. I feel like he's not going to be physical enough to really make his size worthwhile. Like, I don't know if he can defend twos. I don't know if he's going to be able to, like, actually use his size to make things happen in the NBA. Like, he kind of just feels like a shooter to me, and he's gotten playmaking duties seemingly taken away from him, where now he's more an off-ball guy, so, like, he's more of a 2. But you're not going to get the perfect third guard, drafted at 24, right? I think that pick, like, if Nick Clifford's there, you're taking that to the freaking bank, right? Maybe it's something where if you're trading Ant and you're drafting at 9, 10, whatever, that's where you take a Jeremiah Fears or a Jace Richardson, It feels a little high for Traore. Right. Honestly,
What if Traore fell to 24 though?
yeah, I don't know. I don't hate the idea of Demon at like 10, 11. I know that's high and he's very risky, but the upside, the shooting's a problem. You would just try and solve your shooting elsewhere. And if he can be your like backup point with size, he plays some good defense. Basically for him, it's just can he shoot? Because I think of, if you're playing Scoot Sharp and you need a third guard, like they just need to be a connective piece that can knock down some shots, play some defense. If it's a guy like Demon who has size and you have switchability, basically you're just hoping he figures out the three-point shot. You don't need him to do a whole lot if he's on the floor next to Scoot or on the floor next to Sharp, right? Just have somebody that can initiate, pass, play in the flow, and knock down shots. I think Demon could easily be that guy and be intriguing with his size and switchability if he can knock down threes, like at 35, 36%. His form doesn't look too bad, but he only shot 27%. But I'd almost rather like take a chance on him figuring that out, and then I like all the other kind of pieces there compared to the opposite. Because you can teach a guy how to shoot. You can teach some guys how to shoot, right? So hopefully he's one of those guys. Do you agree with that? What are your thoughts?
Man, if we were talking a few months ago that we'd get Demon at 11 or something, that's crazy. But yeah, I get it. It's just for me, it's hard to just take another player that we have to worry about shooting with that being such an issue. But I do get what you're saying. Like,
you wouldn't. Here's the thing, though. You can always go find a shooter, right? He's not the type of guy you have to play right away. You can draft him to try and develop his shot over the next couple of years. He's a project, right? But he has some traits at 6'9", which are intriguing. You draft him, you don't play him right away, and you go sign a vet point guard. And then at 24, you just take the best player available because Demon could be like a multi-positional piece that you can slide around, and so could a guy like Denny. So then at 24, you're not stuck where like we need this position out of the late first where it's hard to even necessarily find a guy that's going to play right away. So then at 24, you just take the best guy available, right? Then Nick Clifford's there, you take Nick Clifford, and he could probably play right away and provide some of that shooting and a little bit of playmaking, where maybe you could get away with a backcourt of a Nick Clifford and Shaden Sharp, and they can, especially if you have Denny on the floor, right? Because Denny can handle some point guard duties. So I don't think it's something where you necessarily draft for a point guard at the Blazers pick or the Nuggets pick if the Blazers traded Ant to Orlando. But Demon is high upside. We need more upside. I think it's very unlikely he reaches that upside, but he could still fall short and be an intriguing piece to have, a switchable ball handler, really passes the ball well. So I'd take a chance on that. Especially, it's easier to take a chance on Demon early in the late lotto if you have a late first where you can draft like a Nick Clifford if he's there. I don't think Rasheer Fleming will fall there, but you could take him, right?
Lendeborg.
A Lendeborg if that's your style. A Noah Penda, who I think will be pretty solid, not flashy but solid. I mean, even a Cam Jones. Cam Jones is that guard could make a lot of sense. Behind Scoot and Sharp. So, yeah, I'm not completely sold on Demon. I think there's a number of guys that you could go with for Portland. And if they have 9, I would probably try and trade down to Atlanta for like 13 and 25. Right? But, I mean, what I would try and do, Eric, if the Blazers are at 9, Knipple's not on the board, okay? What I would try and do is 9 to Atlanta for 13 and 25. Then Ant and 25 to Orlando for 16, another small asset maybe as a Jet Howard, I don't know, and then like the filler salary. And then you're sitting there, you basically traded Ant and 9 for 13 and 16. Is that in, maybe a Jet Howard or another little piece? It's not bad. Because you could probably take your Demon at 16 and you could take, I don't know, Maybe Derek Queen falls to 13, right?
There you get Rasheer Fleming, and then you have
like Rasheer
if you had
Fleming.
Fleming and Demon,
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to get two prospects that are pretty good prospects, like Asengwe, I take a chance on him, like...
And I really want Fleming. I don't know why, but
yeah, no, I mean...
he's going to be kind of plug and play,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, if you want Colin Murray-Boyles, then you take Asengwe too, right? And... see what that looks like. Like, you can take somebody that you think is going to be solid and you can take a swing there. That would be my goal for the Blazers. 9 to Atlanta for 13 and 25. Atlanta has a lot of pieces. Like, maybe they'd be willing to trade up. Maybe you trade them a second. I don't know. But then, like, Ant in that 25th pick for 16 and something. That's what I would try and do. If you did something like that, you take a... Here's the thing. If you believe in your scouting department, this is a pretty solid draft. You should be able to hit on one of those two picks. With, like, somebody that becomes a legitimate starter. Okay? You absolutely should. And you clear the deck in the backcourt, right? You go forward with the plan that I said where, like, they wouldn't even necessarily have to do anything else. You can take your McNeely at 13 and your upside guy at 16, and McNeely and Demon, and McNeely can play right away and hopefully be your shooter. There's just so many combination of things you could do with 13 and 16 with an upside swing and a guy that maybe is ready to play, that can shoot the ball. Like Fleming, I think, would be great. Yeah.
You might be able to catch Brooklyn too, like in terms of them wanting to condense some of their picks down.
Yeah. Yeah, they have 18, 26, 27. 18 is a little far. That's
but I mean,
from
if you're talking about like if we're 11th or something, I don't know if we're gonna get quite as good as that. Yeah.
Like, would you trade 9, 10, 11, whatever for 18, 26, 27? I mean, then if you made that Ant trade for 24, you'd have 4 first-round picks. That's too many. So then how do you condense them back into, I feel like the end game is still trying to get, like, the 13th and 16th pick or something around there.
Yeah.
Because, like, 18, 24, 26, and 27, you would want to condense for, like, 13 and 16. I think that would be pretty equal value, but a better thing to not bring in 4 first-round rookies.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, if get rid of Banton, get rid of Chris Murray, get rid of, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
get rid of Duop, like, just get rid of those spots and take a swing on 4 first-round rookies. It's not the worst draft to do it in.
Yeah. Or, I mean, even, there's seems like Charlotte have 33, 34. Brooklyn has 36.
Yeah.
Like, you could get early second, too, where it's not first-round guaranteed money either.
Yeah, like, ultimately, 4 picks is a lot of rookies to bring in, but given some of your kind of dead weight on this team anyway, like, what is Jabari Walker going to turn into? You might as well, I'd take a chance on a number of guys late in the first over a Jabari Walker, right? So that's just kind of it feels like the opposite of the direction they're going in, but it's not like Duop and Jabari and Chris Murray and Banton are going to help them take the next step next year.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd much rather have 4 swings that you have a chance of hitting on.
Yeah. But, like, here's the thing with Demon, man, is he's a project. He's a multi-year guy. If you're just analyzing him based on what he is right now without thinking about how you could try and develop him, you're thinking about it wrong. Yes, it matters what he can do right now, obviously, but there's been plenty of guys who haven't been the greatest college players, and you get them into a team that knows how to develop players, and they have a unique skill set that's hard to teach, and you teach them how to shoot, you know what I mean? They become shooters, and all of a sudden they're really, really good NBA players, right? It's about what you can develop them and turn them into. Demon is certainly a project, but if you're only basing him based on what he did this year, comparing him to other guys like, oh, this guy was just better this year. Jeremiah Fears was better this year. And that's your point of comparison, and that's it. You're not thinking about it deep enough. It's always about of course, how do guys' games translate to the league, but also how can you develop guys once they're in the league, once they're in an NBA developmental system? How can you develop them to reach their ceiling? And what is that ceiling? So those are the factors that go into scouting, right?
Yeah.
And the Blazers want to have multiple guys that can pass, multiple guys that are smart, guys that can defend, and guys with positional size, right? Demon is right up their alley. I have a feeling the Blazers are going to be heavily considering him. Because he feels right up their alley. He feels right up their alley. Like after seeing what Denny Avdia did this year,
yeah,
you could see them tricking themselves into thinking he could be Denny Avdia-ish.
The only thing the reason why I would hesitate to say that is because if they truly are thinking they're going to make a play-in run, they probably want someone that they feel like would help them sooner rather than if you're talking about trying to develop him.
I mean, they tried to act like Chris Murray could help them sooner, and they were supposedly building around Dame and, took him. I mean, I guess that was his archetype coming into the league, but it's like, I don't think... Who's to say they wouldn't view Demon as somebody that could play some minutes right away? I don't think Demon can play minutes right away and be impactful. But also, it's like, you have enough depth on this team that you can take a project and fill out the rest of your rotation with guys next year that are at least as good as whoever you draft that is ready now. You can go find a vet minimum guy that can be pretty similarly impactful next season as whoever you draft at 12 or 13, unless you really get lucky with who you draft. Right? So why would you be drafting based on who can help the most next year? That's the most ridiculous thing to do. That's so stupid. That's exactly what the Kings did when they drafted Keegan Murray, because they really wanted to make a playoff run. So they drafted him over higher upside guys that pretty quickly became clearly better than him.
Thomas Robinson.
Like, Sharp's better than him. Matherin's better than him. Dyson Daniels better than him. I think Jaden Ivey this year was clearly better than him. The 4 guys taken after him, clearly better than him. You can make a case that Sohan is better than him. Sohan. I don't know who's taken 10th, but you get what I'm saying? Don't make the same mistake the Kings did. Just because you really want a playoff appearance. They hadn't seen one in 20 years. We've seen plenty recently. We should not be that desperate. There's a lot of Demon haters in the chat, man. Demon has zero athleticism. Denny is athletic. Yeah, Denny is definitely quicker. Denny's not like a leaper, though. He's quicker. He's faster. And he's stronger. Right? There are differences between them. They do have some similar traits coming out. Denny was not looked at as a shooter coming into the league. Denny's shot was maybe just as bad as Demon's shot coming into the league. Then he figured it out. Okay? He was like a 29 to 30% three-point shooter his first 3 years and figured it out. Right? And once he figured out, it was like that combined with all the other stuff that he had already shown coming into the league, ball handling at 6'9", his passing feel, vision, right? That's why he's a really good player. So that's kind of the thought with Demon, is you get him stronger, so where he can really use his size and doesn't just have to beat people off the dribble. He can already see over the defense. You teach him how to, if you can develop his shot, just like Denny's, he's already a solid defender. Like, he was a solid defender at the college level. And just like Denny coming into the league. Like, there's some similarities there. It's not to say that he's going to be Denny, but that's the vision with Demon. That's the vision. I feel like people are far too caught up in what he is today when he's not somebody you draft for tomorrow. He's somebody you draft for in the future. I think if Demon goes to a team that doesn't know how to develop, he's going to suck. If he goes to a team that knows how to develop, and hopefully the Blazers are one of them, he's going to be somebody that can develop. It's not like he's Michael Kidd-Gilchrist with his jump shot. I don't think it's that broken.
Eric Olsen really hates Demon.
He really hates Demon, man. A little too much. A little too much.
Apparently saying he's not horrible on defense, he's okay, is coming from is saying that he's going to be a good defender in the NBA on the perimeter. Like, I don't get some people.
I don't get it either. I don't get it either. You can't teach foot speed. He ain't got, bro. He's 6'9". I feel like here's the thing, Eric.
That's slow on his feet.
I feel like people think of it black and white. Either has fast enough foot speed or he doesn't. It's not that simple, okay? And also,
really black and white.
Here's also a trap that people get in with scouting prospects, okay? They always think about it in terms of ceiling, like, man, can I see him being a star or not? And if you can't see him being a star because his foot speed just isn't good enough, I don't like him. I don't see it. But, like, what about him being a really good connective piece? Just because somebody is a raw prospect with, like, theoretical high upside doesn't mean that it's either he has to become a star or he's going to suck. It's too black and white. What about him becoming a really good connective piece that can be an above-average defender, shoot 35% from three, and be a really good, like, Nick Batum-esque type player? Somebody that has size, that can really pass, run a little bit of pick and roll, set guys up, push the ball in transition. That's not a bad outcome. He doesn't have to have amazing or even good foot speed to do all that stuff. You know what I mean? It's not like Nick Batum was the quickest on his feet either. He was still a really, really good player on some good teams. He was a good starter on some good teams, right? So it's like, he doesn't have to be freaking John Wall on his feet. You know? He doesn't have to have quick feet in order to be effective. That's kind of the point of him as a prospect, is size plus passing feel, which it's really hard to teach passing feel. And you can't just make everyone 6'9". And has some good defensive moments. All right, you take that and you figure out how to get him to shoot, and then you have yourself a unique player that's an archetype that's hard to find. And that's if he falls short of his upside. You can still land somewhere in a good spot.
Tori, I had to listen to a conversation in which some people were saying what people are saying in chat about Demon, only they were talking about Knipple. They were saying he's nothing but a shooter. He can't create. He does nothing on the court other than shooting. His foot speed's slow. He's going to suck at defense. He's going to
all these people would have hated Luka as a prospect.
Yeah, he can't drive at all. I was like, what? Did you not watch any of the games? Like, these people say they watched, like, the tournament or whatever, but, like, it's like, dude, like, I don't know. It's there are certain people that the vision and just your ability to be creative with the ball and crafty and things like that can overcome a lack of speed or whatever. But I don't know. It's weird. I don't think Demon's foot speed is his issue. I think he's barely nimble on his feet. I don't know.
Yeah. Luka, there's a comment. Luka could shoot and play making an MVP level in Europe, though. Yeah, but, like, the point is, there's a lot of people that knocked him for his foot speed. If you're knocking Knipple because of his... Yeah, if you're knocking Knipple because of his foot speed, that's just silly. He's a lights-out shooter. He's 6'7". He's strong. And he's, like, going to be catch and shoot, and then if you run him off the line, he can make a play. Like, he doesn't have to be the quickest guy in order to attack a closeout. And he'll hit shots in between, I think, and he'll make the right pass. And he's also the type of guy where if he gets downhill a little bit and doesn't necessarily beat a guy, he can create contact and spin back to that little mid-range jumper. I think that'll be a bread and butter shot for him. Like, he can use his body. If you're not quick enough to just blow by everybody, you got to be able to use your body. Knipple can. I like that. Right? I like that. So I don't really understand people knocking Knipple. Like, it's most likely he doesn't become a star, but that's not really the point of drafting Colin Knipple. The point is he could be an absolutely elite role player for what he does. I think he can be like Kamara's defense. He's an elite role player because of his defense, and that does some other solid things. I think it can be the same way with Knipple with his shooting being elite, and then does solidly in a bunch of other areas. And the Blazers need a guy like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a play he walked a bigger guy down, used his body, and got like an easy 5-foot shot at the glass. Like this, you don't need super quick athleticism if you can do stuff like that. Now, who knows if he'll be able to do that against bigger, stronger, faster players in the NBA, but he definitely has the right ability, the right body control and stuff to be able to possibly do that.
Yeah, and also he doesn't really necessarily have to do that to be a really good role player, you know what I mean? So it's yeah.
But see, this is the problem. Okay, like everyone knows the Blazers need a star, right? And what everyone should know is that the Blazers pretty much messed up their opportunity to get that. So yes, there are drafts like you, of course. There's probably going to be in this draft too, like just like there is in almost every draft, someone taken where we pick or later that becomes a star. So if you find that person, great. Like that's awesome if you hit on that. But you have to kind of change your thinking. You're not going to get Cooper Flagg at 11. So like you're not going to necessarily be drafting for just to get a star. You have to take who you think is going to be the most competent player for your team moving forward.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've talked about this a lot in recent drafts is and particularly last draft, the upside versus realistic upside.
Yeah.
And so like all of these young players could have potentially be a star, but like how realistic it is to get there. And if you're comparing that to someone like Colin Knipple, who might be like, it's a lot different than Tamani, but an elite role player type at the very least, that's not a bad thing if you hit on that, picking it like 10
you can have
or
a lot more confident. You can have a lot more confidence in that outcome happening than whatever like theoretical upside, high upside guy late in the lottery you pick reaching that upside. Because there's a lot of guys where it's like, yeah, they have a ton of upside, but if they don't hit that, how does their game fit in within a team concept? And it really doesn't. And if you go back and look at drafts, a lot of the guys that became stars drafted after the top 10 were not the flashiest, highest upside seeming players, right? Like Kawhi was not flashy at all coming into the league. You know what I mean? Like even a guy like Devin Booker, yes, he was young. Yes, he made some shots at Kentucky, but it was like, all right, he could shoot and do a little bit off the dribble. But I mean, what else? Like Gilgeous Alexander with the 11th pick. You know who was the higher upside prospect who was flashier that year? Kevin Knox. And that's why the Knicks took him at 9 and SGA got taken at 11. Kevin Knox was much more flashy, higher upside, seemed like he had more of a chance to be a star than SGA in that draft. Am I remembering that wrong, Eric? That was kind of the buzz, if you remember. Yeah, I mean, Michael Porter Jr. was also the flashier guy than SGA that year too.
Well, I mean, Porter fell too, but that was. I think people believed in Porter Jr. if he was healthy, but the problem was
he's been
there were rumors his back. Yeah, but at the time of the, I'm just talking about at the time of the draft, there were rumors that his back situation was pretty
But
messed
that's like
up
the
and
only
that
reason he fell to the late
he
lottery.
got
That's
flagged.
with anybody
Yeah,
that's like super high upside, there's going to be red flags. There's going to be a lot of risk that is going to make it actually more likely that they don't pan out to that level. Now, Michael Porter Jr. is still a good starter, but it's like SGA was not the flashy upside pick compared to a Kevin Knox or a Michael Porter Jr. And he might win MVP this year, right?
yeah. Well,
Same thing with Jokic compared to probably a number of guys in his class.
yeah, I'm like, because this is what I keep coming back to when people say like, oh, they're not athletic or whatever. Well, like Luka and Jokic are two of the best players in the NBA, and they're not. No one's gonna say, oh, well, they're super athletic or whatever. So like, you don't necessarily need that if you're elite at other stuff.
You know what's funny is I feel like if you go back and watch SGA in college, I feel like some people, if they didn't know what they were looking at, could make that claim as well about him. What makes him elite as a mover is his deceleration. He might be the best guy at decelerating, which that's the thing. Nobody focuses on deceleration. It's like, how fast can you get from 0 to 100, right? And then how shifty do you look with the ball? Like, SGA is pretty shifty, but it's like one of the most underappreciated things is can you stop on a dime and change direction quickly, efficiently? Because if you can do that, it's almost impossible to stay in front of you. That, Eric, is what impressed me so much about Austin Reeves and why I liked him so much. Was because the way he could decelerate made him really hard to guard, and then like the craftiness with his finishes, body control. All right? But that's the thing, is everybody just focused on like pure athleticism and like how fast can you move your feet when there's a lot more to it.
Well, let's not forget too what ended up being an awesome trade for OKC is getting a year to play with Chris Paul and learning how he does that too at an elite level. So
just like Brogdon with Scoot.
That really helped. Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly like that, Tori. Yeah.
I got Demon highlights on in the background and just
nice.
Studying his foot speed, man. I don't know. For a 6'9" guy, I really don't think his foot speed is as bad as some people are acting like, but it's neither here nor there. Let's do a tankathon since we're on the topic as well. The Blazers are trying really hard to get 11th best odds. They're still trying to catch the Phoenix Suns. They're only 2.5 behind Phoenix. No, 1.5 behind Phoenix. My goodness.
Yeah.
The Blazers are 2.5 behind the Kings. Eric, do you realize if the Blazers showed up for that game in Sacramento, they'd be a half game out of the play-in?
Yeah.
That's why they should have pulled the plug. That was a miserable showing when that was your golden opportunity. That was your golden freaking opportunity, and you didn't even show up in Sacramento. That's like, they really should have just pulled the plug after that, because how do you, against this team? Bro, out of the last 8 games, they only have one win. This is against Portland, and they outscored them by 21 and scored the highest percentage from 2 of any team in the league the entire season. I feel like we did not rant hard enough at that loss. And it was funny because people were just, oh, what are you supposed to do? The Kings just played well. That is, maybe considering like what was on the line and how bad the Kings have been playing, that loss is horrifically bad. That is an inexcusable loss, dude. Look at this. Look at the schedule, man. That loss is absolutely freaking inexcusable. That's why it's like, after that game, pull the freaking plug. Like, we're not ready to play against this team when this is the biggest game of the year. And they just want to, like, man, what can you do? Disgusting stuff. Since then, they've lost to Orlando, Indiana, and freaking Washington.
Man, the Blazers are gonna win a bunch of games, and they're gonna finish like a half, or like what? I guess it'd be one game, or they'll be tied with the Kings and lose the tiebreaker. And
Yeah, it's over. It is over. They are 2.5 behind the 10th seed Sacramento. Look at Dallas, man. Dallas just running away now that they're healthy. I didn't think that they would actually get healthy. I thought they would fall off, right?
Well, Dallas winning yesterday.
Yeah.
I forgot who they beat, but they beat someone by 2 points.
Yeah. You're not catching Dallas. To beat Sacramento, Portland would have to win 3 more games than them the rest of the year, correct? Because Sacramento has a tiebreaker?
Yeah.
So Sacramento has to lose out. Might be possible because the only team they can beat is... Oh, no. Look, they play Charlotte. So they're going to probably beat Charlotte. I mean, they just lost to Washington. I don't know. Schedule the rest of the year pretty tough. That game against Phoenix could be meaningful. So let's just say they win one out of these. Let's just say they win one out of these last...
was it the Hawks they beat? Dallas?
I don't know. I'll check.
Yep.
By 2. Yeah. Dallas not catching them. Okay. Phoenix might lose the rest of the year. But, like, we need Phoenix to probably beat the Kings the last game. Okay. So, if you're Portland, you're going to have to get at least 38 wins, probably 39. You'd have to win out to get to 39. I think 38 is very achievable if they really try and win every game. I just think it's over. Like, I just... yeah. Oh, there's a game at home on the 6th.
Yeah, it's Saturday, right?
Yeah, I thought we just had road games the rest of the year. I mean, you got to win out. If you win out, you give yourself, I guess, a chance. Do we have the tiebreaker with Phoenix? No way they're winning 4 out of 6 though. Boston, New York, Golden State, OKC, San Antonio, Sacramento. Right? No way they're winning 4 out of 6, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's if we win out.
I mean,
watch the Blazers just need to win their last 2 games and they're in or something,
and then they play Golden State, who's resting a bunch of people, and they get blown out at home. That would be very Blazer. Yeah. I mean, this game against Chicago really matters for the tank race, man. The Blazers will fall to 10th best odds if they beat Chicago. Chicago does have Washington, Philly, and Charlotte left on the schedule. I don't think they're catching San Antonio. I mean, San Antonio beat Denver for us, dude.
So Phoenix and us are 2-2, but they have a better conference record. Thanks, everyone in chat.
Yeah. You're going to have to win every game if you're Portland. I don't think 38 is enough wins. I think you got to get to 39. I think they can beat Chicago and San Antonio and Utah, though, so you come home with maybe meaningful games there. I think if you lose to Chicago, it's a good thing for the tank race. If you lose to Chicago, then freaking tank against San Antonio and maybe you catch them. Okay? If they beat Chicago, we are just destined to have the 10th or 11th pick. And maybe they somehow win out and get lucky and can somehow find their way into the play and winning their final 7 games of the year.
It kind of feels like we're that way anyway.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's such a freaking long shot. But I guess, for all intents and purposes, it is 1,000% done if you lose to Chicago. Okay? If you beat Chicago, whatever, you're already screwing up your freaking odds. You won 3 in a row, whatever. That's how I'm approaching it. If they lose to Chicago and then try really hard to beat San Antonio, I'm going to be pissed. If they beat Chicago, whatever. If they lose to Chicago, they should, whatever. That's how I'm viewing it. Chat, do you agree with that? That's how I'm doing it. That's the thing, though, with like teams resting their guys. Like the Lakers might rest their guys. The Warriors might rest their guys. All right, what if teams rest their guys against Phoenix? You know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they might still lose, but like, what if Boston just rests guys, you know? What if OKC just rests guys? What if they rest their whole starting lineup? I bet you Phoenix beats them then.
Just like we did when they did that.
Honestly, if the Blazers beat the Kings that game,
they're probably in, right?
They would probably be the favorite to get the 10th seed right now.
They're probably a playing team. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say yeah, they're a favorite right now. Yep.
But you didn't even show up. And you gave up 81% from 2. Anyway, it's just this is like the definition of, oh, we're so close to a 10th seed. But we want to be stuck in purgatory. We're going to blazer it. That is such a blazer thing to do, man. It's gross. It's gross. Yeah, missed opportunity. Like, if they lost a close game, fine. I'm just mad that they didn't even come. Like, they were disgustingly bad in that game. So, but yeah. Anyway, we'll do the sim.
Yeah.
Can't wait for San Antonio to move up. At 14, we have Atlanta via Sacramento moving down a spot. What is with these take-a-thon sims? So Dallas moves into the top 4. The NBA is thanking Dallas for getting Luka to LA, so they gave him a top 4 pick.
Yeah, that's what everyone's going to say. Ethical tanking.
Yeah, they sold their soul for that top 4 pick. They sold their soul for flag. God. All right. 13 is Houston via Phoenix. 12 is Miami. 11 is Chicago. 10 is your Portland Trailblazers. 9 is San Antonio. 8 is Toronto. Didn't we just have a sim like this where every team moved down one? 7 is Brooklyn. 6 is Philadelphia. And 5 is New Orleans. All these teams moving down one single spot. At 4 is the Dallas Mavericks. At 3 is the Utah Jazz. At 2 is the Washington Wizards, which means the Charlotte Hornets get the number 1 pick.
Nice, man.
Edgecombe would be a great fit in Dallas from day one, though, I think. Next to Kyrie in that backcourt.
Yeah.
Give him some upside. Fits in with their defensive-minded approach that Luka couldn't even fit into.
Dylan Harper and Alex Sarr.
Yeah, Dylan Harper would be fun there. Cooper Flagg and Charlotte would be funny. If Charlotte got Flagg, man, like, please should get Miles Bridges the F out of there. Just get him out of the league. Won't happen because he's playing well and teams don't care. But
we're going to trade
get
for
LaMelo
John Salon then.
I would not want to watch like Cooper Flagg play next to frickin' LaMelo and Miles Bridges. That'd be a gross place for him to end up.
Yeah, it would.
Demon Clips are still playing. He just yammed on some dude. Not athletic, though. How long will it take for Portland to move up? We're on spin 5. Chicago! Spin 6. Oh, there's San Antonio. Spin 7. Oh, Chicago and San Antonio moved up. Spin 8. Oh, we got Houston and San Antonio. Spin 9. Miami and can we see this? We're just destined to not move into the top 4. It's just telling us to accept it already. We're 10 spins in, still no top 4. 11. San Antonio got another number 1 pick. See, we need to take 12. Oh, there we go. We got 2, and we still got Flag and freaking Charlotte. All right. Just took us 12 spins.
Not bad.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Anyway. What were you impressed with by Sharp today? I feel like we haven't really gone into details.
Honestly, I was just impressed by just the way he managed the game the most. Just him. I felt like he had the proper level of aggression. He took a couple of bad 2-point shots. One of his 3-pointers too was like at the end of a shot clock. Like we had an inbound pass that he shot. It was like a few steps from half court. But like for the most part, I thought he just had a really good flow to his game, and that's the kind of pace and flow that and level of aggression that we've been wanting to see from him. And dude, his finishing has been unreal this year, and I really want him to keep trying to get to the rim as much as possible because it's been so freaking good. But he settles a lot. But I felt like in this game he was aggressive.
Yeah, I like the pace he's playing with too on a lot of his moves. Like he doesn't really rush. Sometimes, with athletic guys especially, sometimes they just try and put their head down, get to the rim, jump over guys, use their athleticism. I think he's continuously improved the past couple of years at slowing things down and then attacking, right? And not being predictable with when he's going to attack, because NBA defenders are smart. They play against these guys a lot. That's the thing, is Sharp continues to play. He's going to be going against guys that have played against him multiple times. Teams watch film, teams scout. You got to be unpredictable when you attack in the NBA. If you're always attacking on the same rhythm, defenders are going to cue that up, and defenders are going to be able to predict that and kind of clue into the rhythm you're playing with and move with you and make things tougher. It's kind of a tough thing to explain, but hopefully it makes sense. I think that's what Sharp is doing a better job of, is with his just ISO game in general, because it's not like he has the quickest first step. It's not like he's the strongest guy, but when he gets his shoulders past someone, he doesn't even have to really blow by them. Once he gets his shoulders past anyone at all, he then can use his body, use his athleticism, use his wingspan to finish. So it's just getting to that point. And I think as he continues to get a little craftier with his handle tightening up, I think is a big part of this. He's going to end up in more situations where he's getting downhill and then using his athleticism. So I think that's something that's been really impressive, and he had moments like that in today's game.
Yeah, absolutely agree. He can get a shot off anytime. It just seems so effortless, and that's why it's got to be frustrating if you're a coach or something, and there's times where he just doesn't seem interested in trying to create, or settles for like a really bad shot, because it feels like he is, when he drives, he's getting by people. It's not like he's getting like stonewalled or something. So like just keep attacking, man. And I have been encouraged, especially the last couple of games, that he's doing that.
I also like in transition, not even necessarily fast breaks, but just he does a good job of kind of bringing the ball up the floor and attacking early and getting downhill. And with his athleticism, that's pretty good. And then as far as what I think there could be more of, of course he has some tough shots today. A lot of them, though, off the dribble, which is good. But I still feel like a better, more creative coach can get him more in the flow off the ball and really utilize his athleticism and scoring ability. I mean, I'm watching back a lot of the tapes. I'm watching back all his buckets right now because I don't remember him scoring really off the ball at all. It was all a lot of pick and roll, a lot of pulled up jumpers, mid-range stuff. I think the first bucket he had was a good example of his pace, and he didn't even get to the rim. He shot a nice little step back, he had that bucket in transition I just saw, which it's kind of different. Like how many buckets did he get in the half court where he started off the ball. Because I think that can be a really dangerous part of his game that's not really tapped into with Chauncey.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I like the idea of him starting with Scoot, where it can be Sharp's backcourt, where he can take over the game with off the dribble with the ball in his hands. But you have Scoot that can kind of orchestrate things and make good passes with Sharp coming off curls, maybe fakes it for a backdoor. Scoot can throw that lob. Like that, I think, is the ideal way to use Shaedon Sharp next year, the ideal way to set him up. So that's what I want to see. Because that's the thing. We talk about him, if he plays 34, 35 minutes a game, shoots the three ball a little better, he can be like a 22-point per game guy. What if they start using him in the half court a little bit better? Right?
I mean, Chauncey used to say this all the time, compared him to Devin Booker. Then run some freaking Devin Booker actions and see what he does off those.
Yeah. And you know what both he and Scoot have gotten better at, which is a tougher thing to do than people realize?
What's that?
The crisp offhand one-hand passes off the dribble. The left hand, dribble comes back up to your hand and you just flick it quickly, like crisply on the money to a teammate. That's a tough pass, man. I don't know how many of you guys in chat have ever tried that. That's a tough pass to both throw on point and also crisply, like quickly with your offhand. Sharp had that assist to Thibault, that three on the wing where he just... Thibault's not open if he makes a slower pass or if he gathers it with two hands. He just flicks it with his left hand on the money quick enough for Thibault to have space to shoot, right? I feel like that's an underrated thing, man. Scoot and Sharp and even Ant at times. I don't know if that's something that Chauncey specifically has them work on, but that is definitely a good thing to work on.
Yeah, I think it was in the trail last year where I think it was Anthony was talking about how that's like an important pass to be able to make if you want to take that next step into being a true playmaker type.
Yep. I threw one of those passes today, Eric.
Nice.
No, seeing them do it has motivated me in my runs to get good at that, So it's tough, though, dude. It's a tough. It feels weird to throw.
Hey Tori, my son's game is at 11:30, so I should be able to make it if that invitation is available.
Yep.
Still.
Yep. Yeah, that'll be interesting.
I can't promise you how good I'll play, but
we just need bodies. We got. Yeah.
I'm just a body now to you, huh?
Yeah. Take that as a compliment. You're a body.
That's okay.
I mean, I'm a body. We're all one body, unless you have a conjoined twin, and then I don't know. Then I don't know what that is, but yeah.
Line the gym up. Tori said there's not much of a fan section, but what if we get like 200 people to come out and watch?
That gym can't hold 200 people. Right? They'd be standing on each other's shoulders. But yeah. Be interesting. I don't know what to expect. Playing with some guys that I haven't met, so yeah.
Oh, I met Superbad last night.
Superbad.
Yeah.
Where?
At Dick's Sporting Goods.
That's
Ran
random.
into. I know it was random.
You meet everybody.
Cool.
I meet nobody.
It was cool, man.
Or nobody wants to talk to
Seemed like a nice guy. Yeah.
What was he buying?
He was in there, I think, looking for similar stuff to that I was. Stuff for his son's soccer. Yeah, they were looking at soccer equipment.
Nice.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm just reading chat.
No, it's all
This is
good.
the part of the stream where I start to zone out, so probably should end the stream soon. Feels later than 10:41, but so today I had a dental procedure. I had a dental procedure. I had like a chipped tooth that was like half gone, basically, for like the past few months. It wasn't hurting me until recently, and I was getting like migraines every day because it was hurting. So I finally got it fixed. It's nice to have a full tooth again. But I had anesthesia just to put me under, like pills, like Trazolam, whatever it's called. I slept like 13 hours in the past 24 hours. So I don't know why I'm zoning out or even feel tired right now, but I literally, after coming home, I literally slept till like 4:30 in the afternoon. It was on some 2020 stuff, you know.
Nice.
The good old days. It was really, really weird. And then I drank a C4 and I played basketball, and I felt very weird. That's my new thing. I drink a C4 before I play basketball. No, because I jump higher.
Because why not?
I play better. I need the energy, man. Bro, I just got a crown that is so expensive. Yeah, I have to get a crown on a different tooth, so I'm not looking forward to that. I don't know how expensive it is either, so. But they'll do a payment plan. We don't have a pick next season. No, not if we make the playoffs. Basically, if we make the playoffs, we don't have a pick. If we don't make the playoffs, we have a pick.
But that could end this year. Technically.
In a perfect world, how do you want to see the team next year? Starting lineup: Scoot, Sharp, Flag, Avdia, and Klingon. Well, that's the question. If we get Flag, which one of those? Who do you bring off the bench?
I really hate to say this, but I think it's got to be probably Tamani.
That's a good chat poll.
Danny,
We're at 90 likes. We're ending the chat. We're ending the poll for likes, so give me 10 more likes. Okay, just because I ended the poll. All right. 125 of you voted in it, and we only got 90 likes. It's really hurtful, honestly.
Wow.
Well, the easiest way to support the channel. Oh, we had a donation earlier. See, I'm not even used to donations anymore, Eric. I'm not even used to donations anymore. But our guy, MGJJ123, steps up for us all the time with a $5 donation. He says, I'm so glad to have Danny, Sharp, and Kamar going forward. They really showed their value this year. We now have a brighter future. Thank you for the donation. Sorry it took 43 minutes to read it. I've just, didn't see it until now. So appreciate you. Thank you for your donation.
I saw and forgot. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Some voted no, so you can't be too mad. I mean, why are you voting no and not liking the stream? Like, we want to be more positive in here, but our viewers can't even. 23% of our viewers can't even help us be more positive, man. We have to talk about it, We have to have a conversation about it instead of just getting us to 100 so we can be happy. But this is a good chat poll. Who do you bring off the bench if the Blazers got Cooper Flag? Should Flag be an option? Would anybody bring Flag off the bench? Let's just say the options are Scoot, Sharp. I mean, you can't bring Flag off the bench. So let's say Avdia and Kamara. Or do you start Avdia at the 5? Imagine a lineup of Scoot, Sharp, Flag, Avdia, Kamara. That'd be kind of fun. Everybody's going to say Scoot because chat's filled with Scoot haters. I already know.
But that doesn't...
Who's our point guard if we don't...
So Scoot and Denny are our point guard?
Or yeah. Sharp and... Well, if we bench Scoot, who's our...
Sharp and Denny, yeah.
You
just spent half the show talking about Sharp being the lead guard, right?
Yeah, so we got to make him the only guard.
But just think of how much better that lineup is than that same lineup with Jeremy instead of Flag when we were starting like Jeremy,
I know.
Tamani, and Denny at the same time.
Yeah. It's such a tough question because it's like, Kamara, you want him guarding the other team's best player, right? But like, so you get Flag, you're basically just gonna give up on Scoot. Because if you're starting Flag, Sharp, Avdia, Kamara next year, like, you're never gonna start Scoot. Scoot could like break out, and you're still probably never gonna start him. You're basically giving up on him, right? Unless somebody gets hurt. Like, you're just resigned that the guy you drafted and basically ran Dame out of town for, you're just resigned going into year 3 that he's just going to be a sixth man for you long term. I just don't like that, Eric, you know?
That's interesting.
What?
Super Hachimitsu says, y'all love Denny too much. If Scoop breaks out as a star, Denny is 100% off the bench.
What do you mean we love Denny too much? He just had a month where he averaged 24, 10, and 5.
Have you not been watching?
Have you not? Did you just fall into a coma in like November and you just woke up?
What?
That's a crazy comment.
Yeah, Kat saying Denny's our best player right now. Yeah, Denny's our best player. Like, what are you talking
You
about?
guys are you guys are too positive. You like our best player too much.
I completely agree with people like Javon who say that bringing Kamara off the bench just seems so weird. But come on, guys, if you have Flag and Denny, like, is that really that big? Like, he's still going to play a lot of minutes. I don't know, man.
Yeah. And with that lineup, you'd probably, I don't know. Like, what I would do is I bring Kamara off the bench and you sub him in like 5 minutes into the game for whoever's playing the worst. And you can finish games with him if Scoot's not playing well or somebody's not playing well. You can finish halves with him. You can match him up, get him a lot of minutes against starters. You can still play him 32 minutes a game, 30 to 32 minutes a game. Like, that's what I would do. It would be Kamara. I would love to throw Kamara's energy into a game, especially if they start slow. If they start slow, you can sub Kamara 3 minutes into the game if you want to. If they look sluggish the first 3 minutes, and have him inject some energy. You know what I mean? Like, if you have Denny, Sharp, and Flag, they should have the ball. Takes away what Scoot does. But no, I think you try and make them all work off of each other. Scoot, what does Scoot do best? The thing that Scoot did best this year is probably catch and shoot threes. So I think you stagger so Scoot can sub out early and come back in with a bench unit and have the ball in his hands more. It's like that's what you would do anyway, but get him minutes with starters and just give him more opportunity and just have that team just fly down the court in transition. Like, that should be a top 3 transition team. And that runs some action that utilizes all the talent you have. And if all of them can pass and all of them can shoot, dribble, attack the rim, score, like, you should be able to come up with some really good half-court offense with those guys playing off of each other. and all of them can create at the end of the shot clock. You can cherry pick defenders for who you want to attack. With Kamara, like, teams are going to put the worst defender on him. But if you got Scoot, Sharp, Avdia, Kamara, if you have Scoot, Sharp, Avdia, and Flag, you should just be able to pick on whoever the worst defender is out of the point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward. If you have a weak defender, you're going to be able to pick on him consistently, right? All those guys can run pick and roll. All those guys, like, Sharp can be a screener and roller like he's a freaking lob target. Avdia is really good in short roll. Flag will be really good in short roll. Like, you can... I like how dynamic that offense could be if you have the right coach. Chauncey's not the right coach for that offense. If you have somebody that knows how to coach, I think that lineup takes off. And then if somebody's opposing players having a really good start to his game against Avdia or Flag or whatever, good first 3-4 minutes. All right, here's Tamani Kamara. Good luck. And he's fresh. Like, Kamara's the type of guy that doesn't need to, like, start to get into the rhythm of the game because his best trait is defense, right? Whereas, like, somebody like Scoot or Sharp or Avdia, right? Like, they need to get in a rhythm offensively. So, man, I want Cooper Flag, man. If we got Cooper Flag, it might be like a top 3 moment in my life. If we got the number 1 pick this year, I'm just gonna say that right now. All right, I don't even care if that sounds weird. Like,
I still don't get why people, like, think this is a bad problem. Like, it's not a bad problem to have.
let's do a chapel. If the Blazers got the number 1 pick, 52% said Scoot, 26% said Kamara, 14% said Sharp, 6% said Avdia. If the Blazers got the number 1 pick, that would be a top 1 moment in my life. Top 3 moment. We'll do top 5 moment, and then
in your life or their life?
In chat's lives. Like, is this a top? We're gonna see who the real fans are. All right, and then the 4th option is y'all care about sports too much. Okay, that's the 4th option. I'll vote top 5 moment in my life. All right. Maybe top 3. 71% said y'all care about sports too much. Listen, if you were up here on this channel, it would probably be a top 3 moment in your life. It would be amazing for this channel to make content about Cooper Flag. You know, like, it would be amazing.
Yeah, see, the problem for me is I was a part of the last time we got the number 1 pick, and that was a hype draft as well, with supposedly a generational prospect, and
yeah,
we just didn't take him.
It would be I don't know actually, because, like, both Dame shots are, like, greater moments as a Blazer fan, I think, than getting the number 1 pick would be. Both Dame series ending buzzer beaters, right? And I've had some other good moments in my life, so I don't know if it'd be top 5. It'd probably be. I haven't had a kid yet, okay? I haven't had a kid yet. I haven't had a wedding yet. All right.
Don't be so short romancer.
What else is there to live for, you know? Sports, marriage, and kids. What else would, I don't know, compare? No, this says two horrible things. Dro, you're talking out your ass again. Put down the bottle of whatever bottle you're holding. It'd be the greatest moment in this channel's history, bar none.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I would have a clip of myself being so freaking happy that I would have it on a hotkey on when we stream, and every time somebody says you're too negative, I would just play it.
Top 5 worst moments of my life. That's Blazers are all up there.
Taylor's funny. That was too repetitive, Taylor. So,
Oh, look at you! Wow, wow.
Had to make the joke. Anyway. Bottom 5 moments of my life are things I'm not going to say here. Yeah. We're trying to keep the stream positive, so appreciate that. The worst moment of my life was when Dame went crazy in OT against Denver in the playoffs and we lost. Well, we can go to that day.
We did have the channel for that game.
We did have the channel for that game.
That was so fun.
I'm going back. Oh my! I'll put this on the screen. This is funny. So some of the sometimes it's fun. Wait, where's the score? Where's the headline? Let's hide this for now. Okay. It's always funny sometimes to go back through thumbnails and see the tag that I used to put on them, which I don't do this year. Maybe I should do that again next year. 23-2 run Dooms Blazers. Anthony Simon, the 4-0 game. Although this thumbnail is clean. The thumbnail today was super clean. Chauncey will never learn. That's a funny one. We got a lot of bad moments against the Nuggets, man. And another embarrassing effort on the road. Blazers get demolished in Denver. A tough one in Denver. Where's the live for that one?
Is that the tough one in Denver?
No. I had a different thumbnail for playoffs. Back when we had playoffs, I had different thumbnails for playoffs. So,
something to aspire to.
Yeah, a whole different setup and all that. My thumbnails have gotten so much better, man. Like, what were these thumbnails? Those are some gross thumbnails. This thumbnail was just a curtain. The final game of the year. This is the fun thing. You can go back and watch moments in history. So, yeah, that was game 5. I didn't even put Dame in the thumbnail. I put Norman Powell. Anyway, I was lazy. Back then. Yeah, so let's see. Why is there another ad, man? There's too many ads.
You got to can't hunt a shot. They are.
Denver Nuggets. Damian Lillard had the best playoff game in franchise history.
I'm glad I ditched the
maybe
mustache.
the best
not
playoff
gonna lie.
performance in NBA history in a game that his team lost because the Blazers
I think we should
could
go
not
back
pull
to
it
that.
out. This was a game where Dame showed up and pretty much
the
nobody
chin
else did. Rocco had a good game.
I was way too calm. Why was I so calm?
He was solid. I
I
can't
look
really
pissed
think of
right
any.
there.
You look so pissed. That's the Eric death stare, man. That's not a stare you ever want to see.
Everybody else that had a solid game for the Blazers. This was a poorly coached game. This was literally a game where Dame just tries
Javon
to put the
says
entire
that's Super Mario. It's me.
Oh my god.
organization on his back.
I'm just
It was
listening to
maybe
this.
the most incredible display of shot making there in the clutch. Some of the just this game, Dame was as clutch as it gets.
When do I
Blazers didn't
shout?
control the controllables, and that's what we're gonna get in tonight. And anybody that says, "Oh well, nobody showed up other than Dame," how's that Stotts' fault? We'll get in.
Oh, we're not gonna do the Stott stuff. We're not gonna rile up anybody. All right. I can't believe I was so calm, man. That was when we just started, though. Could you imagine today? I would probably lose my voice in 5 minutes. Pretty regular look for Eric, says Mount Hood. Damn.
Wow.
It's a low blow. Unnecessary.
In real life, I don't necessarily have resting bitch face.
I feel like Tori was just done with Stotts at that point. Dude, like, that entire game was like Dame has the ball in his hands, just going to run pick and roll and then, like, hit a double team three. And then when he didn't, like, they had no idea what to do. They had no idea what to do. Ray Tex, I only do polls if you donate. That's the rule. I just completely made that up, but, we're starving. Is it possible Cooper Flag will be a bust? I mean, if it's possible that he'll be a bust, then it's possible that literally anyone could be, but he's about as safe of a bet as you could find. Like, if you watch him, like, he's very, very good at basketball, and he'll be very good in the NBA because he's very, very good at basketball. Terrific. Yeah, but you guys can always go back and watch different moments to see our reactions. That's always, you can always leave comments on old streams if you watch them too, because I do see every comment that's left, so if you go back and watch an old stream, leave a comment. But it's like we got a time capsule, Hopefully we can add some more meaningful moments because, like, these past 2 years, it's like I can't even think of necessarily a stream that I want to go back and watch or, like, a stream that really stands out, unfortunately. Is there any to you that stand out the last 2 years, like post-game shows at least? Not to say, like, we've had good post-game shows for sure. It's just like we haven't been given good big moments from this team or this organization.
Did you say the last 2 years?
Raytex became a starter level member. I'll do his poll. Shout out to Raytex. Yeah.
I mean, technically, the Dame request thing has been in the last 2 years. I don't think that's what you meant, though. Yeah, I don't know. Not really, because, like I've said a lot of times, I've still had my rants, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't cared as much about wins when you're tanking, and I haven't. The losses don't bug me because it's for the greater good type of thing. So it's not. I'm not as like, hinged on every moment that happens and.
Yeah. Yeah.
How I usually am,
Yeah.
next year.
Domantas
I mean,
Sabonis is going to lead us to a 9th seed.
I mean, winning 10 out of 11. Yeah. Oh, was it within the last 2 years? So.
I barely remember who we played during that stretch.
Well, I mean, we beat Phoenix on the buzzer beater. We beat Miami on a Josh Hart buzzer beater.
Yeah. So for this poll, I'm going to word it because the person, Raytex, who became a channel member, shout out to them, said, can we get a poll if Denny can become an all-star? And if yes, is he a tier 1 all-star, a.k.a. Luka? Tier 2 all-star like a Tatum, or tier 3? I'm just going to ask it like this. Okay, since you want me to ask a question. Denny can become a top 5 player, top 10, 20 player. Denny can become a top 5 player, or a top 10 player, or a top 20 player, or a top 50 player. Because I think we should all agree, like, he might already be a top 50 player, right? Maybe I should have did top 25 player. I'll do top 25. I think that makes more sense. Top 5, top 10, top 25, because that's like all-star cutoff, because there's 24 all-stars. Okay, I got to retype it. You ended it? Oh, I did, Arrow? I almost just said I did. All right. And then we'll end the stream. All right, there's your poll. I'll tell you what I'll vote after we get some votes in chat. Eric, could you which stream was that? I don't remember which specific stream that was. I've always wanted to watch it back. Emphasis on can. Don't overthink it, Jackson. Jackson loves overthinking. Like, do you think he'll become a top 5, top 10, top 25, or top 50 player? If I had to vote, probably vote top 25 player. I think he can become a top 25 player. How confident I am in that, I'm not particularly sure. But I think he can become like a borderline top 25, top 30 player.
Yeah, I voted 25 too.
Yeah. Arrow says excited for Jackson to mock off season this year. Who's to say he's in it? I mean, I'm not saying he's not in it, but also, Arrow, I'm gonna need you to. We might need to find somebody else that can help us run it because I think it's gonna be very difficult, or we gotta switch things up. Maybe we make Jackson run it. Although he would abuse his power to fleece people, so. I'm working on some stuff. Just wait, it's gonna be lit. Ooh, Arrow's cooking something. Bet. Arrow is the one guy I know that's better with spreadsheets than I am. I can cook with some spreadsheets, but Arrow's different. So I'm sure he has some like system. I'm confident he's gonna have something really cool for us. So shout out to him. If you want to be in our mock off season, make sure you're in our Discord. You can view mock off seasons from prior years. We're trying to get to 1,000 members. We have 880 there. You can talk about whatever you want to in there too. We got some Blazer fans in there, so. All right, I think the chat poll makes sense. 14% say top 5. I think that's being optimistic, like way too optimistic, and I think that's, I don't know. Maybe a little bias there, like top 5, man. That's too high. Top 10 is a
top
stretch.
5.
Like,
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if he does, great. But yeah, like
realistically, I think top 25 All-Star should be the goal. 48% said top 25. I think that makes sense. 18% said top 10, 18% said top 50. So, yeah, kind of split on that top 25, which I think is right in line with what he is. Currently, Avdiaz is one of the best players in the NBA. Yeah, he's playing really good lately, but can he become that guy 82 games a year every year? Like, he's having a really good stretch, but it's still too early to say, like, oh, this is exactly who he's going to be all the time, or, oh, he just had a really good month. He's not already above top 25 in the NBA, Gray. No. He's not already an all-star. Like, let's let him average 17 points per game in a season first before we claim that he's already an all-star. That's the thing. I love Denny, but, man, it's just so... Like, the recency bias sometimes is crazy, and, like, being a prisoner of the moment with stuff is wild. Like, he'll prove whether he's top 25 or not. He's not had enough opportunity, I guess, and has not had enough of a stretch like March to prove that he's there yet.
Top 25 is, like, you're talking about getting some others receiving votes for all NBA team. That, like, you're starting to creep up into that range, you know, like, come on.
Yeah. Like, you're putting him in the same tier as, like, Jalen Williams, Şengün, Dame, you know what I mean? Like, Tyrese Maxey, like, guys that average 25 a game for the entire season.
We're not saying he could, we all agree he could possibly be top 25 player, but
like, he's not there yet. What are his numbers in the last 40 games, Gray? Yeah, if you want to talk about, like, in the future, like, this who he is, like, it absolutely 1,000% could be. Like, he could play like this all next year. But until he plays like this for more than just a month, I'm not going to sit here and act like, oh, yeah, this is for sure 1,000% who he is. Because players have hot stretches all the time, and if you take every single best month of every player's career and act like that's who they are for their career, you're going to overrate everybody. You know? So it's just like, just pump the brakes a little bit. And this is coming from somebody who's been as high on Denny as pretty much anybody. Well, maybe not pretty much anybody. There's some people that think he's like Luka, but, you know. What's his average for the last 40 games? I would bet around 19, 8, and 4. How can I check? I suck at stuff like that. Oh, actually, I can check on Basketball Reference. So I'll check, actually. Okay.
40 days?
40 games. Okay, so if we go from here to here, how many games is that? 42 games. Okay, so 40 games ago was December 28th against Dallas. Okay, so in his last 40 games, doesn't give his points per game average? Damn.
Before you say that, though, Gray says he's a great all-around player, 2 triple-doubles this year. Okay, triple-doubles are cool, but that...
Doesn't Dyson Daniels have like 2 triple-doubles this year?
Tori,
I might be wrong, but is he a star?
Guess who has 5 or no, sorry. One of those games he didn't score enough points. Guess who has 4 triple-doubles this year?
I don't know.
Russell Westbrook.
No. He's a star?
Is he a
this
top
year.
25 player still?
Yeah, I mean, if you're saying getting 2 triple doubles makes you a top 25 player, that's kind of silly. No offense, that's kind of silly. Like, that's the thing is, like, he's a great player, but just people want so desperately to have a star again that it's just like he had 2 triple doubles. You know, he's a star. Or
Well,
he's really, really good, but top 25, I don't know. Like, do you guys realize who top 25 players in the league are? Like, in the last 40 games, he's averaging 19 points per game. Really, really good. Okay, he's averaging he's averaging 4.4 assists. Okay, and he's averaging 8 rebounds. So 19, 8, and 4.4 assists. That is really, really good for sure. For sure.
mm-hmm.
That's not all-star numbers. That's not top 25 numbers. You're getting close, but he has to be more like who he was in March than he was in like January and February. He's improved throughout the year. So I am on board with hoping that, man, he could be who he was in March for an entire season. Okay, but he also had like his best moments last year in March. Right? So it's like, all right, we need to see it for the entire season, man.
Cole has a good point. Is Josh Giddey now a top 25 player too?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When you use that logic to try and insert Denny into these conversations, then you have to insert a Josh Giddey, you know? But that's the thing, though. If we had Josh Giddey, if Josh Giddey was a Blazer, everybody would be saying he's a star then. Like the people saying that Denny's a star, people would be saying Josh Giddey's a star because his numbers the last 40 games are probably phenomenal too, you know? But like, we're not paying attention because he's only a Chicago Bull. We're paying attention to the Blazers. And that's just called bias. Like, all right, the last 40 games, Josh Giddey is averaging, let's do the math. He's averaging almost 16 points per game, but he's averaging 7 assists and 6.5 rebounds. So you got 19, 8, and 4 versus 16, 7, and 6.5. I don't know. Like, which one's better? Now, Denny, I think, better defender, right? So I'm taking Denny over Josh Giddey. Don't get me wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
But, like, especially with the way Giddey has played the past month, or at least just since the All-Star break. Let's just do since the All-Star break for Josh Giddey. Here's the thing when you just take, like, the best sample size and overreact to it, right?
They had this stat on during the game tonight it was him and Barron, I think.
Yeah. Post All-Star break, Josh Giddey is averaging 21 points per game, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists. Is he a top 25 player? You know what I mean? Because, like...
Also, Henry Thomas says Quentin Grimes has averaged 27, 6, and 4 over the last month.
Yeah. Like, there's always... There's guys that have really good months, and I'm not saying that's all it is for Avdi. I'm just trying to give some perspective here, okay? If Quentin Grimes did that over an entire season, then yeah, we could start talking about, like, maybe he's a top 25 player. Maybe he's going to insert himself. Maybe he deserves an all-star game. He should be in all-star talks. But it's like when Quentin Grimes does it, it's like, oh, they are tanking and he's just getting a lot of shots and the games don't really matter and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just 1 month, you know. We have that energy. But if Quentin Grimes was ours and we're applying the same logic we are for Denny, then we're probably saying all the same things about Quentin Grimes being a top 25 player. So the entire point is just like, Denny's really, really good. Denny has been phenomenal in the month of March and so far to start April. And it's a really good sign, but we need more of a sample of him playing at this level that he's played at since the start of March before we can start inserting him in these conversations with players that have played at that level for literally years. Okay? The only point I'm trying to make. Eric Olsen said Giddey is having a hot stretch. Well, that's the thing. People can say that about Denny Avdia. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. You can frame it however you want to frame it.
That's the thing about sports is you can say one guy who has really good numbers in March is just having a hot stretch, and you can say another guy who's having really good numbers in March, like, oh, see, he's a star. See, he just took the next step, right? And I mean, how can I even argue that? Like, because you could flip the two and still come to the same conclusion. So how do you even argue that? I don't know. Who's to say one's a hot stretch and one's not? I don't know. Like,
And once again, this isn't knocking Denny or just saying.
yeah, just have some patience before we insert him in conversations where it's like he just doesn't have enough sample of this play to compare against legitimate all-stars yet. Okay? Next season, I think there's a very good chance that he could belong in those conversations. I just think that hasn't happened yet. I think there's a very good chance that it will happen, but I think it's too early right now. So, yeah. Yep. It's the same thing when, like, Sharp last year had, you know, a good 5-game stretch. See, he's already a star. And then he struggles after it. And it's like, oh, man, not yet. He's inconsistent. He has really good moments and some rough moments. He's still progressing positively. So one day, hopefully, he can be a star. But it's like, Sharp's not a star because he had 36 tonight against the tanking Raptors. I think hopefully he's on his way and he's having some really good moments. But that's the thing, is nuance and gray area, and that's never as fun as just making bold proclamations. So, yeah. Because here's what I could see happening, Eric. If people like think Denny's a top 25 player, he's going to be held to that standard going into next year. And if he struggles, like, it's going to be like, what the hell? What's wrong with him? If he's only averaging, I don't know, 18 points and like 7 rebounds and 4 assists, even though that's really, really good, some people will view that as not good enough because they view him as a top 25 player now. Right? So, like, that would be disappointing. Even though that's really, really good. That's the funny thing about expectations and all that. Right? But, I mean, we're talking about some of the same people that, like, didn't like Dame when he averaged 32 and 8. So, you know. Anyway.
I did hear some people actually making the argument because Denny has gotten 2 assists and Dame hardly, 2 triple doubles, and Dame hardly ever got triple doubles. That Denny's becoming a better Portland Trailblazer than Dame.
Stupid. Denny's 6'9" and not a point guard, so he gets more rebounds.
Yeah, so it's
like, okay.
Dame missed out a lot of that because of rebounds.
Yeah, like if Dame was 6'9" and didn't guard point guards and was around the rim a lot more, he would probably have 100 triple doubles by now. You know, like, we roast Russell Westbrook for stat padding and stat chasing and stealing rebounds from teammates and his teammates deciding not to grab boards so he could, but then we're going to sit here and say, like, Dame didn't get enough rebounds. Then he's a better all-around player because he gets more triple doubles. What are we talking about, man? What are we talking about? Dame should have chased more rebounds. He would have been a better team player. Better all-around player. If he chased more rebounds, Eric. Gray says, other than he rarely got over 10 assists as a point guard. He averaged 8 assists a game, and you think he rarely got over 10 assists in a game? That's not. It doesn't even. Okay.
I think.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say that doesn't make mathematical sense. It doesn't make mathematical sense.
If you are talking about Dame, that's...
Yeah, for sure. I mean, how many games has he had over 10 assists? Yeah, fine. For a second, I thought he was talking about Dame, but I was just going to have a talk about mathematics. Because, you know, that's what people want to hear is talk about math, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I listened to a Blazers podcast today that compared Denny's style to a poor man's Miami LeBron. I mean, sure, like,
What about a smart man's Mario Hezonja?
yeah, like who knows what a poor man's Miami LeBron even necessarily means? I guess like his downhill style is similar. You know what? Honestly, Eric, if you want to say he's a poor man's Miami LeBron, I'll sit here and say he's a poor man's Giannis with better shooting.
That's not a poor man's Giannis, then.
No, but like the shooting doesn't make up the difference there, you know. Because if we're just talking about the style in which he drives, a lot of his like transition stuff and the way he drives is very similar to Giannis.
Speaking of Giannis, don't look this up. Did you see his stat line tonight?
No.
Dude had 35, 17, and 20.
Oh yeah, I actually saw a notification. They became the first player in NBA history to do that.
Dude
That's
almost
crazy.
had a 20-20-20 game, or 30-20-20.
30-20-20.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's Denny in the future if he becomes a top 5 player, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Just an average Jokic game. Yeah, I can confidently say that Denny won't become a top 5 player. I wish we could. It'd solve all our problems. Would make my life much better as a Blazers content creator, but I mean, like, look at what Jokic is doing, look at what Giannis is doing, look at what SGA is doing, man. I mean, those guys are insane. Then he needs to improve on going left. I agree with that. But also, like, he's pretty good Euro stepping to his left, and he goes so hard right that either he's beating guys, or if guys cut him off, he's just putting him in a body bag and then still getting to the rim. So it would definitely help, but I don't think it's necessarily, like, as crucial for him as somebody like Scoot. Damn, we've been streaming for 2.5 hours. Anyway. The one thing with Denny is he needs to turn over the ball less, man. The one thing about this stretch, this really hot stretch that he's on, is he's turning over the ball a lot. He had 7 turnovers last game with 10 assists, but then this game, 7 turnovers with his 6 assists. He averaged 3.5 to his 5 assists in March. On a higher usage, I think that's something that could hold him back from being a top 25 player, is those guys are like having games like this, but not turning over the ball 7 times. So he has to find a way to take better care of the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's back-to-back 7 turnover games.
Yeah. But, I mean, 26, 15, and 6. Good defense. He's legit. He's legit, man. He's legit. I tried to tell everyone he's better than freaking Jeremy Grant. That's funny that was a debate coming into the year, Eric. You know?
Yeah.
And now there's such a gap between those two guys. The gap is as big as the Grand Canyon between those two guys at this point. Shout out to Denny. Great game. Having an even better month of April. We'll see if the Blazers can make a run at the play-in. Because it's not mathematically over. And that's what we want, man. I mean, it'd be fun to do content for the season past the 82nd game. Would give us some new content to do. We'd do a whole game preview for the play-in, and people would actually watch it, because game previews in the regular season nobody watches. We'd probably do a pregame show. Probably have new graphics for just a pregame show. Like, we'd probably pull out all this stuff. So you guys know us, so
that'll probably be next year. Anyway, anything else, Eric?
No, thanks everyone for watching. Hope you have a good night. We'll be back at it tomorrow night.
Yep. We will be back at it tomorrow night with another stream. I don't even know what the event was supposed to be for tonight. I completely forgot.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least our stream will be on time. Let's see here. Oh, it's supposed to be a call-in night. Maybe we do that tomorrow. Tomorrow's supposed to be a shot night, Eric. You ready for a shot night tomorrow?
I'll have some drinks, sure.
A shot night and a call-in night?
Yeah, that'd be good.
We're either going to be drinking because they're finally going to like mathematically eliminate themselves from the play-in, all but mathematically eliminate themselves, or we're going to be toasting to our Cooper Flag dreams officially being dead. You know? So we're going to be drinking for something after the Blazers take on the Bulls.
After this weekend, we only have 3 more games, Story.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
In a week and a half, our season will be over, most likely.
In a week and Oh, I guess it is a week and a half. Yeah. Yeah, because 4th... Wait. No. We play the 4th, 6th, 9th, 11th. No, we'll have 4 games after. We have 5 games left. We'll have 4 games after tomorrow.
I said after this weekend.
Oh, after this weekend. Okay, I got confused. Yeah, we'll have our 7th edition of our big board on Sunday. Do you have some changes?
Maybe. I don't know. Not like crazy ones, but...
So yeah, we'll do that on after the Spurs game. And that'll be fun. Tomorrow we'll do a shot night and call-in night. And then we'll have a members night on the 9th to celebrate our members. Might move that to 11th because we're doing a fan appreciation thing on the 11th. I don't know what that's going to be yet, but I wanted to show you guys some love. So, and then a season recap on the 13th. Or a play-in preview. That's the rest of our season. And then once the off-season's here, we'll be live at 9:30 p.m. Maybe 9. We might make it a little bit earlier, but we'll be live Mondays, Thursdays here on the main channel after the season. So we'll still stream twice a week. There will be more video content as much as I can get out. And that's what's on tap. So the Blazers win 34-43. They're just really trying to make sure that you owe Gray Hughes some money. And watch, they're going to win exactly 36 games.
Yep.
Exactly 36. I remember when you made the bet, and I think you even gave a little crowd because, like, oh, they're not going to get that many. Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's what... If the win total was 21.5, I'm already giving him, like, 14.5 over the Vegas win total.
I mean, people should have smashed that freaking win total then.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. Should have taken advantage of Vegas. If Denny gets a triple-double next game, I'll donate the amount he scored. Oh, let's go. 70-point triple-double. Let's get it.
So I think Gray wanted to do 40 again like last year.
He was being kind, giving me 36. Your kindness came back to bite you. This is why we aren't kind. All right? It's a lesson to everyone.
To be fair, I didn't foresee a chance in heck we'd actually not be tanking at this point to try and get best odds as possible for Cooper Flag. Still boggles my mind that we're not, but... Are you muted?
Oh, shoot. I just made a whole point. Muted, because I was typing. You remember when the 10th seed was
500. If the 10th seed was still 500, we'd be mathematically eliminated. And we would start tanking now, you would think. So, yeah. I mean, everything aligned for them to be able to beat that number for Gray. Like, everything magically aligned for them to win 36, 37 games. They haven't had much injury trouble this year, at least not the players that matter. Like, if Denny missed more time, there's no way they get to 36 wins. So, the stars aligned for this team to be slightly below average on the season. I have not looked at their ranks. We'll do that in a minute in the one on the stream, because now I'm very curious. Like, where's their net rank and all that? So to wrap up the stream, the Blazers are 23rd in adjusted net rating. They are, oh my goodness, they're 16th defensively and 23rd offensively. Eric, we might be an above-average defense. I think that matters more than anything else, man. Can we be an above-average defense? Remember that was the goal before the season?
Yeah.
Who's 15th? 15th is Toronto. And they have the same number. And that's after today's games. And 14th is New York. New York is 113.9. Portland is 114. We could get up to the 14th best defense this year. We have the 23rd best offense. So that has to improve. Our defense has been better without Ayton and Grant. Isn't that interesting? How our defensive ranking has climbed without those two? Even though you're paying them $65 million. We're defending the rim well. 9th best opponent percentage at the rim. Last year, that was 30th.
Nice.
What changed? Could that be the Klingon effect, Eric?
No, because I heard he sucks.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's interesting. That's the biggest jump defensively for this team is you're not the worst team defending the rim in the league. Anyway, but it's not flashy enough. You know, blocks matter, and being able to run around the three-point arc, chasing steals as a center, that's what matters. Anyway, I'm being too sarcastic, so it's time to end the stream. We're out of here. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. The Blazers
Thank
win.
you.
Sharp and Avdia continue to look great, even though the Blazers are like soft launching the tank, I guess. You know, you got no Ant, you got no Grant, you got no Ayton, you got no Scoot. You remember when I said the March 12th reevaluation date for Ayton, I didn't expect anything, and he's probably out for the rest of the year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like that might be the case, but I don't know if they're chasing a play, and maybe he'll play next game.
A couple weeks ago? 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was like it was supposed to be March 12th. We heard nothing. Like they're almost doing tank things, you know. Like that is such a tank thing to reevaluate him around March 12th is basically the date because they said 2 to 4 weeks or whatever, or 4 to 6 weeks or whatever, because it happened right before the All-Star break, and then just not even say anything, and now it's like a month later before we even realized. Like, oh yeah, heard nothing. Maybe I missed it, but that's very tanky of the Blazers, right? You got no Scoot, you got no Ant, you got no Robert Williams is actually hurt, of course. You got no Ayton, you got no Grant. They soft launch the tank, and then they beat Atlanta and they beat Toronto, and I just screwed up my hair. What in the world? It's really time to end the stream. Yeah. It's like they soft launch the tank and then like, nope, still too good to beat this team. Still have a chance at a play-in, so I guess they're going to continue to try and win. That's where we're at. Anyway. We're out of here. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your Thursday. Enjoy your Friday. We'll see you guys tomorrow with another post-game show in less than 24 hours, so hopefully you can join that. Leave a like. Hit the like on the way out of here. Easiest way to support the channel. Shout out to MGJJ123 for the donation. Shout out to Raytex for becoming a starter member. We're out of here. Shout out to the Blazers for winning basketball games. And shout out to Sharp and Avdia. Shout out to you guys. We're out of here. Until next time. As always, peace out. Go Blazers!